Good afternoon and welcome to Wellbeing Wednesday here on the Educate to Flourish Wellbeing channel. Actually, I should call it that, shouldn't I? On the Educate to Flourish channel with me, Frederica Roberts. I'm the founder of Educate to Flourish, and also with me today we have Selena Whitehead from Amazing People Schools, and I'll introduce her properly in a moment. But as I've started doing every week now, before we get started properly with Wellbeing Wednesday, what I want to do with you is to just take the emotional temperature of the virtual room. So see how we're all feeling. So Selena and I have done it already. So I'm going to share the screen with you so that you can get the details of how to log on. So you might be able to see that if you've got a big screen of how to log on, but I'll share the screen so you can see it better as well. Too many screens open at once. Here we go. So hopefully you can see that now. So to share the emotional temperature at the moment, you can see mine and Selena's are on there. You can go to polev.com. That's polev.com. And you can then enter Frederica Rob 992, Frederica Rob 992, and then you can just type in one word and then enter, or an emoji and then enter, and repeat that as many times as you want to share with the audience, with all of us, how you're feeling at the moment. So Selena and I have done those. You can see that excited is really big there at the moment. So that means that Selena and I have both chosen that word. I'm very excited to have Selena here. How are you feeling, Selena, at the moment?
Yeah, no, it's lovely to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me, and yeah, it's wonderful to have the opportunity to chat with you like this.
Fantastic, and thank you so much for being here. So yeah, I'm feeling particularly lucky as well. I notice we've chosen very similar words. You've got fortunate. I feel lucky. I think it's lovely to be able to do this, and I feel lucky that my family and I are well at the moment, and just focusing on all the things that are good at the moment. I am feeling a bit tired. I'll be honest, a bit tired. Been working hard, and also a bit of binge watching TV. It's not all just been work. Binge watching TV until too late in the morning, and very warm at the moment. It's very sunny here in Doncaster. So, and I've got a big light here as well. So I'm feeling very warm. So other than excited, how are you feeling at the moment, Selena?
Yeah, I think really good, as you say. The sun's shining here in York as well, which always seems to make life a little bit easier. And yeah, I had quite a tricky day yesterday, and it was my son's birthday on Monday, which was just lovely. I mean, we weren't expecting it to be lovely, but actually it did turn out. I think doing something a bit different actually made it really nice. We had some nice Zoom calls, but then there was a little bit of a drop yesterday, and I think we all felt a bit flat. And yeah, so I think I feel more upbeat again today, and possibly possibly doing this helps, because it just breaks up the sort of routine of the day, and I sort of find that we're needing to find ways of making life a bit more interesting, really, because otherwise the pattern, work's been busy, and that's great, and wonderful, but yeah, you need something to sort of change things about a little bit, really. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, definitely still feeling like we're a bit on that emotional roller coaster, to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's quite a common thread with everybody, isn't it, at the moment? There is that kind of roller coaster, and people are going through the highs and lows, and that's absolutely okay. And I think, all we can do from a well-being perspective is to really, part of it is acceptance, isn't it? Accepting that we feel how we feel,
Yeah,
and that there's no right or wrong way to feel. There's never been anything like this before, and however we feel is however we feel at the time, and just go with it a bit. And obviously what we're trying to do with these Wellbeing Wednesdays is to bring in a little bit of support to kind of help us when we are feeling low, to do some of the things we can do, and not just for ourselves but for our own children, or the children that we work with and teach, to support that, and help us to pick ourselves back up, so that we don't stay in those lows. So that, roller coaster is fine. If we stay in that low, it's going to get very difficult to keep
yeah,
getting back
yeah.
up. So I'll stop sharing the screen on that, and if I see that we get some more as we go on, then obviously I'll come back to that as well and have a look at what other people have put. But I'll just briefly introduce myself and then introduce you properly as well, Selena. So I am Frederica Roberts. I am the founder and managing Educate to Flourish. And my absolute passion is supporting well-being and flourishing for children, but not just the children, all of the adults around those children as well. My big passion within that is particularly whole school positive education. So really bringing that well-being, not to the exclusion of academic achievement, but hand in hand with academic achievement into education in a more consistent way, and looking at school policies, looking at the structure of a building, looking at how people move through a building, how the school day is structured, all of those things that contribute to maximizing academic achievement and maximizing well-being. And of course, at the moment, we're experiencing so much flux in that because not an awful lot is happening in physical school buildings at the moment. So that puts a whole other dimension on that as well. And I've written a few books on the subject, which you can see there. My latest one, Flourishing's Sake, is coming out. Well, it's coming out in August in print edition, but I have found out that actually the Kindle version is still coming out as planned in June. So because a lot more people are probably going to be ordering ebooks at the moment rather than print, and there isn't the same amount of kind of physical work required by publishers and printing companies to get that out. So 18th of June for the ebook, and then 21st of August for the printed version. So that's me, and I'm going to very briefly say a few words about Selena before I let Selena introduce herself. So I've known you, Selena, now what, a couple of years or so? Has it been that long?
Something about that, yeah.
Something like that, and we've met a few times over that over the course of those couple of years. And what I always love whenever I talk to you, and of course to your colleague Fran as well, is that shared passion about the well-being piece in schools, and specifically with Amazing People Schools, is the character underpinning that well-being and all the really simple ways in which you can bring character in. So rather than me talk about it, I'll hand it over to you to talk about. And if you do want to, then obviously share some screens as well. So if you want to introduce yourself and then share a little bit of what you've been doing in terms of resources at Amazing People Schools.
And then met Dr. Charles Majerison, who established Amazing People worldwide, of which Amazing People Schools is one of the strands.
Oh, that's right. And I met him at a conference, didn't I, before I met you? Yes.
Yeah. So Amazing People Schools, we launched properly last year, but we've done quite an extensive pilot before that. And it's really based on the idea of learning and exploring the stories of amazing people from history, to look at the character strengths that help them to overcome adversity and challenge and difficulties. And what we find is that as a way of introducing the language of character, if you can relate it to somebody's story, it begins to make more sense. It begins to make more sense to sort of look at somebody well known, Marie Curie, and think about integrity, and think about her story, and think about her, not making a lot of money out of the discoveries that she was a part of, helping sort of actively during the war, and thinking about her work in terms of integrity. Puts a different spin on the story of Marie Curie. You're not just looking at the achievements, but you're also looking at the character strength. So could I just show my screen? It might make
Yes, of course.
That'd be all right. Wanting to share. There we go. So has that worked?
I think so, yeah.
Screen? Yeah, fantastic. So this is our Amazing People page, and pupils can log on to this, or teachers can use it as a teacher-led resource. So we have just over 50 characters at the moment, and we've worked quite hard to get characters from different parts of the world, from different walks of life, and from different backgrounds. So some of them you'll recognise, and some of them may be more unknown to you. So within the characters, choose a character, Fred, and I'll just quickly go through them. Who would you like to have a look at?
Let me look at it on a bigger screen. So how about Howard Florey?
Howard Florey, okay. So this was a character that I didn't know anything about before.
Likewise, that's why I picked him.
Yeah, absolutely. So all of the characters have an audio to their story, and they also have some key dates. Just to help sort of orientate the children as to sort of when in history we're talking about, you know, what century, what else do we know was going on, 1938 to 1945, you know, where are we talking about in history? There's also a full detailed timeline for each of the characters. And then there's a written story as well. So the students can read the story, and when they've sort of done all of the exploring, there's then a quiz. And when they can answer the quiz, five questions, and when they've answered the quiz, they achieve an amazing person fun fact card.
Oh, wow.
It's a wardrobe item. So if I go back up to the top of the screen here, I'll just quickly show you. So this is my avatar item. So I've gained Einstein's wild hair, and I think that's probably Queen and Zinga's costume, and you can have a Nobel Prize, but you can share that. So one idea for schools is just that the pupils can have the access, or they can have it as a whole school access, and they can choose their character. And they can use it as that. The other thing that we've been doing since lockdown is we've developed a series of wellbeing resources. So I'll just quickly share what we've got. I should just say that one thing that we decided to do pretty early on with all of the beg your pardon, that's not what I meant to do. Is that we're offering free access to the whole of the site during the lockdown.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I was going to say everything's available for free at the moment, isn't it?
So yes, schools can apply, and they can have their students do these activities at home, and they've got something that they can be doing. It's educational, but it's fun and it's interesting, and there's also links to the wellbeing. So if I can just run through a few of these. So this is our character strengths builder. And this is just a fun thing, which is really across all ages. They're almost all off-screen ideas. I'll just let it upload for a moment. So it basically has our 20 character strengths on it. Creativity, curiosity, gratitude, perseverance, resilience, and just a fun idea. So some schools are working through it sort of day by day, or they're picking a few out, and it's just a sort of a fun thing for students to be having a go at. That's largely off screen, and they can do sort of at their own time. The other sort of two different types of wellbeing workouts that we're doing, one are focusing on the kindness, and I'm going to leave that one because I know you've got a PDF towards the end. But we've also got these wellbeing workouts which are for different characters.
Oh, so brilliant.
It was a new character for us. And what we would say is that students can have a look at his story and discover all about him. And then we've looked at various character strengths. So Nye Bevan, of course, you know, key figure in the creation of the NHS in the UK. And we've linked that with gratitude, really. There's such a lot at the moment, isn't there, quite rightly, about clapping for our carers and thanking those people who are frontline, who are keeping us safe during this. So again, it's about linking the person then with the character strength. So in order to do what he did, huge team effort. So a lot of collaboration. How can you collaborate at home? What could you do with someone in your household? Could you create a song? Could you cook a meal together? And I think it's about introducing that language, isn't it? It's about introducing the language of character, so that, you know, people, it becomes normal. Normal. We sort of say, you know, we're looking at fairness. So, you know, Bevan was all about fairness and saying that actually everybody should have access to this healthcare. And if we translate that language of fairness into our own lives, we're all worried and we're all anxious, but how can we be fair? How can we start to be fair? And how can we start to think about our own activities and, you know, using the terminology, I think. And what we found is that schools that start to introduce this language of character it becomes much easier for the pupils to be able to express how they're feeling, and which character strengths they need to be developing and which character strengths they need to be using, you know, in different occasions. So the wellbeing workouts follow this process. So some could be quite fun. You could hold an online Eisteddfod, or you could have an Eisteddfod, a celebration at home. And it's just about thinking, as I say, both about some nice activities that pupils can do, and beginning to introduce the language of character as well. So that's what we've
Fantastic.
got sort of during the home sort of during the quarantine period. On the site, though, we are thinking, and there's lots of conversations around about when the school's going back, when's lockdown lifting, what's happening. And I think that a lot of our resources are actually very helpful for that transition period back into schools. So we have assemblies, and we have lesson plans, and we have 40 10-minute lessons. So we have they're again on a character strength, and it might then be on a quotation from one of our amazing people, and then some questions to get the conversation going. You know, Marie Curie. So I'm back to Marie Curie again. For some reason, Marie Curie's in my head. Marie Curie. Don't be curious about people, be curious about ideas. You know, what does that mean? When's it good to be curious? What's the negatives about being curious? Or tolerance, we might look at, you know, all the benefits and all the good things about being tolerant and tolerant different ideas, but when's that not such a good thing? When should we not be standing on the sidelines? You know, which behaviours do we not want to be tolerant of, and do we want to be courageous and speak out against? So all of those teaching resources are on the site as well.
Fantastic.
So yeah, that's hopefully give you some idea of what we'd like, but it's completely free access at the moment. So we'd really encourage anybody who's interested to, you know, log in and have a look and let us know what you think.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that. And I think, you know, it's such a great thing that you've done to make all of this available absolutely free while everybody's in lockdown, to give these amazing resources to people to use at home, as well as obviously those who here in the UK are still in school as well. So that's fantastic. And yes, you're right. I did also set up. So I'm going to do the screen share from mine now, just one of the worksheets, just so people can see a bit bigger what it looks like when they download one of them as well. So there you go. Hopefully that's, I don't know if you want to talk through a little bit of that one. So that's the kindness wellbeing workout.
Yeah, we wanted to approach it in two ways, really. So we've got some of the individual wellbeing workouts. So we've got Shakespeare, Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King is out very soon. But we also wanted to do these ones where the focus is on one particular character strength, and kindness sort of struck us as a really important one at the moment, for being kind to ourselves and being kind to other people. So we have a variety of characters here. We have Eva Peron, Caroline Chisholm, Mustafa Ataturk, Florence Nightingale, Leonardo da Vinci, and Elizabeth Blackwell. And we would encourage, you know, if you don't know any of those characters, you don't know their stories, you could maybe go onto the site and find out about who they were, and have a think when you're reading the stories. Well, why have they chosen, you know, what did Mustafa Ataturk, the founder of modern Turkey, why did they choose him to be kind? You know, what did he do? In what ways did he demonstrate kindness? And then again, we've got some different ideas of ways to be kind. So, you know, just drawing a picture and putting it in the window. I've seen some fantastic images of the rainbows and the sunshines, and you know, that different people can look at when they're out for their walks. You know, writing a letter and just letting somebody know that you're thinking about them in these times. You know, asking somebody how they are, writing a poem about kindness. All of these things, again, I think once you start to think about kindness, you then start to recognize that, you know, you're watching a film or a television program, you're beginning to recognize the role that kindness can play, and how it makes you feel when people aren't kind, and how the characters feel. So yeah, optimism is our next one. That's out on Monday. And then we've
fantastic. You've been busy, haven't you?
We have been busy. We have been busy. Yeah, but they seem to have gone down really well. Yeah, it seems like a nice activity that obviously not all pupils are at home. There's a lot of schools open, but it can work nicely both for those who are in the classroom, but also when you're on home, you can even access it on your phone. So yeah, hopefully they're of use to people.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. While you were talking, I was just looking at the screen if I was looking distracted, just to see if there's any comments or questions, because of course, if anybody does have any comments or questions, they can pop them into the chat box here on YouTube. So you've got both me and Selena here. So if you want to ask anything about the fantastic resources from Amazing People Schools and any ideas, or have you got this, or how can I use that, then do ask Selena while she's here with us. And if you've got any questions for me, of course, about well-being in general, then do ask the questions as well. So I'm going to just stop sharing the screen. But I love this, and I love the colourful nature of it. I love how much there is actually on the worksheet, that you've got the kind of all these directions that you can go in, where you can find out about the characters, you can do the different activities around kindness, and all your different well-being workouts are structured in a similar way, aren't they? So that you've got that familiar structure then.
And I think, if I could just mention one other thing, I think it's also, you begin to realise that, developing different character strengths, they interlink with each other, don't they? So
Yeah.
we think about expressing gratitude, and actually by saying thank you to somebody, you're expressing gratitude, but you're also being kind.
Yes.
About that sort of interlinking. We're working on the optimism one next, and similarly, it's a real challenge to stay positive, isn't it, for people in these circumstances? But there are things that we can do. We can practice gratitude. We can think about, well, what is to be grateful about, and we can, by practicing kindness, we actually feel more positive. So again, once you start to introduce the language, you realize that there's a meshing together, and that one character's strength will build on another character's strength, and that can all contribute towards our well-being.
Absolutely, yeah. And the great thing about character strengths is, as you say, that they're not only interlinked, but they also tap into other things that contribute to well-being. So, for example, if you take something like kindness, that taps into positive relationships as well, and supporting those positive relationships. If you look at gratitude, then that taps into other well-being things, and the whole idea of counting your blessings, and it's actually a positive emotion as well as a character strength. So you're boosting your positive emotions by practicing gratitude. So there's all sorts of interlinks there between the character strengths themselves, and also between the character strengths individually, and how they underpin other aspects of positive psychology and well-being, which is one of the reasons why I love character strengths so much in the context of positive psychology and well-being, because they really do underpin that really well. So thank you so much for that, Selena. It's been really wonderful of you to share all of that, and again, how wonderful that you're making these resources available for free for everybody. And I hope that people have been able to watch okay so far. I've been monitoring the stream, and it's been a bit patchy, but it's nothing that I can do about anything about. I think it's either YouTube itself or something happening with Zoom in terms of the connection. So it might have been a little bit buffery, but hopefully the replay will be fine if people have struggled to watch it live. So, as I always do at this point in the Wellbeing Wednesday Live, I also want to share some other resources as well. I think it's nice to take this opportunity to share as many resources as we can. And of course, to all the viewers out there, just a reminder that if there are resources that you're aware of that you want to share, just let me know, tag me at Wellbeing Wednesday Live, or at my contact details, which I'll put up before we go. And I'm always looking out for great resources to share on these weekly live webinars as well. But I wanted to share something from the Greater Good Science Centre. So I'm just going to share the screen again now. Where have we gone? Here we go. So the Greater Good Science Center is based at Berkeley University in California, and they do all sorts of stuff. They have a fantastic blog to do with all everything to do with research and science around well-being, and you can subscribe to that for free and you get fantastic blog posts into your inbox. But a few months ago they launched this great well-being greater good in education subsite. So you can see it's got all sorts of stuff all related to well-being, and you can really lose yourself there. But then they've also created this additional section, which is the learning at home section as well. And I'll just share the next window, which hopefully you will now see, where they've got all sorts of practices there that you can engage with for parents as well, practices to support mental health and well-being. It's very American, so, but obviously we have an international audience, so looking at stress and anxiety, for example, at different age levels as well of students, stress management for the educators themselves, because let's not forget that those at the forefront of education at the moment have got an awful lot to deal with as well. And then there's even more there, and again for educators and for parents. So there's all sorts, like for example how self-compassion can help teens de-stress. There's all sorts of resources there that you can go to. As always, at the end of this live webinar I will put all of the live links up, so that includes the links to Amazing People Schools so that people can actually sign up there, and also the links to the Berkeley Greater Good Science Centre. So I'll share all of those, and I think we are more or less coming to the end. So I'm just going to have a look again and see if there's any questions. I also want to see if we've had, I think we might have had some more responses to the how do you feel. So I'll just briefly share that one again. So the emotional temperature that we did earlier on, there's definitely more on that screen. I keep looking over there because I've got two screens. It's great for me, not great for people watching when I'm just over there. But yeah, so we've got emotional and optimistic as well, and roller coaster on there. So some great words on there this week, which is fantastic, and I'll take a screenshot of that and share it later on as well before I reset it for next week. So I'm just going to come to the contact details. So if you do have something to share in terms of resources, or you have any questions that you'd like me to address in a future Wednesday Wellbeing Live, or Wellbeing Wednesday Live even, or if you would like to be a guest, if you're somebody who works in education and has a particular interest in well-being, then do come back to me on any of my contact details, which you'll see on the screen now. So on my personal Twitter at Frederica_R, or at the Educate to Flourish Twitter account, which is at EduFlourish, nice and easy, at EduFlourish. And of course you can email me at fred@educatetoflourish.org.uk. That's fred@educatetoflourish.org.uk. And if you have any questions for Selena, if you want to get in touch with her about Amazing People Schools, if you have any questions about anything she's shared today, or just want to connect with her because she's fab, then her details are at amazing_schools. So I don't know how I'd say that verbally, but at amazing_schools anyway, abbreviation for schools, SCHS. And email, I'm having to read that backwards now because of the flipping of the screen. So it's Selena@amazingpeopleschools.com, isn't it? So really easy to get in touch with Selena as well. So do contact her. She's absolutely fantastic to talk to, if you haven't already noticed that. And come back next week, 4 o'clock, Wellbeing Wednesday Live. And as usual, the hashtag Wellbeing Wednesday Live, or WBWed Live as well, if you have fewer characters to use in your tweets. And I'll be monitoring those if you've got any questions or comments. So do you have any final words at all, Selena, before we go?
Just want to wish everybody well, really. We're all feeling our way through this. There are some fantastic wellbeing resources out there, and I think that it is about being kind to ourselves. We are doing the best that we can do, as individuals, as parents, as educators, as friends, and we sometimes need to take stock of that, and take a moment to be kind to ourselves, because as we've said, it is a roller coaster, and there are difficulties, and there are things to be positive about. So yeah, absolutely, today has been one of the positives, so thank you.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. And we've got some comments from Fran, your colleague, actually. How do we get access to the well-being workouts? Would you like to just share that again, Selena, before we
Yeah,
go?
absolutely. So you can have free access to anything on the site, including the wellbeing workouts. If you go to amazingpeopleschools.com and then you go into the contact page or the subscribe page, then you can get in touch with us. And if you find us on Twitter, there are lots of wellbeing workouts that we've shared on there as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that. And I love the colourful nature of them. They really pop on Twitter as well when you share them,
Yeah,
which is wonderful. So it's important to have stuff that's visually
yeah,
stimulating as well, and that makes you feel good visually when you look at it as well. So, so
yeah.
thank you again. Thank you so
Thank you.
much for your time today. It's been great to have you here. And next week we have the lovely Laura Martin. You know Laura as well, don't you?
Yeah, she's great. Really good. Yeah.
So yeah, she's a former teacher, I believe, who's like me, got a master's in applied positive psychology and absolutely passionate about well-being and education. So she's going to be with us, and I have shared one of her resources before. She put a fantastic post on her blog. Improve My Wellbeing is her blog, with links to lots and lots of wellbeing resources. So she'll be talking to us next week about something that we can do for our well-being. So I don't know what yet, so I'm very excited to find out. But meanwhile, have a wonderful week to everybody out there, and to you, Selena. Thanks again.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.